Hey everyone, this is Alex Milstein. I'm the editor-in-chief of Betting News Now, and this is Bet Ed Now, bite-sized bits of betting industry knowledge. Today my guest is Elie Gottlieb. He is the lead applied sleep scientist for SleepScore Labs. SleepScore is a research partner that works with manufacturers and retailers in the mattress industry to work on different types of sleep research and validate that research. So we're really lucky to have Elie with us here today to talk about some of the studies that SleepScore has done and what they could mean for the mattress industry. Well, thanks for joining me today, Elie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about some really cool stuff today, some of the research that you guys do at SleepScore Labs. But first, tell us a little bit about research in the mattress industry as it is right now.
Yeah, I think in general, I think the mattress industry, despite having an incredibly broad reach, it's really filled with a lot of claims, right, about sleep enhancing products, including mattresses and pillows and a range of different things. But many of them, I think, lack, the scientific backing that they really need to have that level of credibility. So I think what's problematic right now is that the landscape can kind of confuse consumers. I think it can sometimes hinder, decision making and, expose companies to regulatory scrutiny from agencies like the Federal Trade Commission that are really cracking down on unsubstantiated claims. So
Mhm.
at SleepScore, and part of the work that the research team at our company conducts is we address this challenge, right? We really try to champion a science-driven approach that rigorously tests sleep products and provide evidence-based, insights. So I think ideally by, grounding what we do in objective sleep data, in self-reported sleep data, we're not only helping consumers make better informed decisions, but also ideally helping the manufacturers in enhancing their product design, improving their development, and a lot of their marketing practices, which is really what we've done with Mattress Firm. That's sort of a strong use case for us and one of our
Yeah.
strongest partners. And really, what we try to do is elevate the credibility and the reliability, not just of mattresses, but of really the entire sleep product marketplace.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of noise out there, specifically with reviews that are a lot of the times paid for, whether you know it or not. It's just so much information. And like you said, a lot of it, can't really be substantiated with hard evidence and research. And consumers don't like that. If you tell a consumer that, a certain foam breathes 20% better than regular foam, and they go home and they still sleep hot, they're going to come for you. Maybe not legally, but they're going to come to the review sites and say, hey, this is a false claim. And I've seen it happen many times before. So I think companies like yours are really useful for our industry to have that validated data.
Yeah, and the substantiation. And even when consumers say, well, this didn't really improve my sleep, and we ask for like a habituation period to let people sleep on a mattress for a certain period of time before returning it, we
Mhm.
can use some of the data from our studies to say, look, typically we see that it takes anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks, let's say, as an example, to really see the benefits of this specific mattress. That again can provide some credibility and it can be used in store, it can be used by customer service, and you can even cite the research. You could say, well, here's a study that we conducted with SleepScore showing that it takes this amount of time to actually see the benefits. Would you mind waiting a little bit longer before you return? The ROI is very clear for that. That's what we really stand by, is taking an evidence-based approach to informing not just product development, but even things like customer service. It's the entire user experience that can really benefit from this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love it if you could go into, I know you've got these prepared, the studies that you guys have done and maybe just, the significance of each one.
Yeah, we've done a lot of studies, I will say. We have about 90 plus scientific publications to date, leveraging both our big data from our app. We have collected 700 plus million hours of objective sleep data, and also from our research side. So our R&D team conducts a range of studies, 250 plus studies they've completed to date on a range of different products. But I pulled, three or four of these studies specific to mattresses and the bedding industry in general that I think just provides explanation, high level of what we can actually offer and what we're publishing in this space. So the first one that I'll highlight, which is probably for a lot of people, it's well known, it's that sleeping in an inclined position can help some people sleep better. There's something called positional sleep apnea. We're not a medical device or we're not providing any medical related claims, But some things that we've found from the clinical space can actually be transferred to the more consumer related space, which is that sleeping in an inclined position in some people with obstructive sleep apnea has actually been in more mild types has been shown to improve aspects of their sleep. And we found that in a consumer population, sleeping in an inclined position can improve snoring, so reduce snoring and improve objectively measured sleep. So we had 25 self-reported snorers track their sleep at home for about 8 weeks over about 1,000 nights. So we had quite a bit of sleep data across relatively smaller sample, but longitudinal. That's the power of consumer sleep technologies to really measure sleep in a
Mhm.
long-term fashion. And for the first 4 weeks, participants, they just slept flat as usual. And then for the next 4 weeks, they used an adjustable bed base, about a 12-degree incline. And our results were quite promising. So objective measurements, so using our SleepScore Max technology, which is a non-contact technology used to objectively measure sleep, we saw that they experienced about 4% fewer awakenings during the night and about 5% increase in deep sleep. This is that restorative sleep
Yeah.
state critical for feeling refreshed. We also found about a 7% reduction in snoring duration when they slept inclined compared to flat. So I know the magnitude of those differences don't sound, it's not like there's a 60, 70, 80% reduction. But
Mhm.
what we typically find, and you'll see across most of these studies, is when you have a non-clinical population, when you have just a generally healthy population, there's only so much room for improvement, right?
Yeah.
So what we're really excited about is that these results can be really generalized, ideally to those that don't have a sleep disorder, but still are sort of struggling with their sleep. And we know that, 15 to 20% of the population has a sleep disorder, and
Mhm.
up to 60, 70 plus percent have what we call subclinical or non-clinical threshold sleep issues that don't necessarily merit like a clinical diagnosis or a pharmacological treatment or some kind of medical treatment. And for that reason, a lot of these people are left to their own devices to try to figure out what works best for them. And their symptoms are so varied, right? Some people have trouble falling asleep, staying asleep,
Mhm.
slightly worsening snoring. And I always say, first and foremost, rule out a sleep disorder. And if they have, then again, they're sort of trying to experiment with their own sleep. And that's why we're excited about some of these results that we'll share. It's because a lot of them don't require any major shifts in behavior. It's a simple product like sleeping at an inclined position that might be able to help you over a longer period of time.
Yeah, yeah. I think, the research is going to speak for itself with a lot of these, but just a little comment. I think that's a really great one to start with because just coming back from High Point Market and Vegas Market earlier this year, that's kind of a main point now that these exhibitors bring up is, yeah, it's got the incline, you can incline your feet now as well. And, that's just such a strong conversation starter with
Mm,
consumers when you're at retail to be able to say, to the primary shopper, which is usually the woman, to be able to say, hey, does your husband snore? Well,
mm.
this could help. Whether they have sleep apnea or not, so many people snore. My wife hates it when I snore. So, yeah, I think that's a really great general one that it's almost become an accepted fact in this industry, but it's really nice to have, that research that you guys did to really show that it's proven.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's not the end all be all, right? Like a
Mhm.
7% reduction in snoring is not, for some people, it's not enough, which again merits a clinical pathway.
Mhm.
But again, it's a path forward to some level of improvement. And if they're still snoring after that, then someone could say, well, it's time to speak with a doctor and go a different path. But
Mhm.
again, for a non-invasive piece of technology like a, adjustable bed base, I think it's
Mhm.
really exciting. And then it wasn't just the reduction in snoring, we saw that improvement in deep sleep as well, which makes sense. If people are,
Yeah.
waking up sometimes as a result of their snoring, they're less capable or able to enter deeper stages of sleep, like slow wave sleep or REM sleep. So, we're proud of this study. It's again just an example of something that is anecdotally helping people and putting that to a publication.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I'll go through next couple as well. So the next one was a really interesting one that we did with Mattress Firm, which was
Mhm.
an in-person expert mattress matcher versus someone choosing their own mattress. And what's really exciting is that this is like my thinking for the future when it comes to the mattress industry is that recommendations for someone's mattress are hyper personalized. No longer is someone just, twisting and turning on trying 15, 16, 20 different beds,
Mhm.
but through either an automated process or a more just intelligent process we're able to provide really bespoke recommendations. So this is a study that we actually looked at the impact of an expert guided in-store mattress matching process in about 30 people. It was about a 10-week study. We had about 1,200 nights of sleep data. And then for the first 4 weeks, people just slept on their usual mattress at home as they normally would. Then they came to the store, a Mattress Firm store,
Hmm.
and they were matched with a new mattress through Mattress Firm's in-store matcher process.
Yeah.
And they used that selected mattress for the next 6 weeks, including a 2 week adjustment period. And what we found was that there were both objective and self-reported improvements in overall sleep. So there was a 5% increase in deep sleep duration, a 4% relative increase in the proportion of time people spent in deep sleep, and there was a slight improvement in what we call body score, which is it just reflects it's an age and sex adjusted score for
Mhm.
deep sleep as well. We were primarily seeing effects on deep sleep. And what was exciting and what's most exciting for me is when the objective results mirror the self-reported results, because
Yeah.
it's always the best, right? Like what people are actually physically experiencing mirror up to what they're feeling. So we did see improvements in self-reported overall sleep quality, feeling refreshed and well rested upon awakening, which again is indicative of sufficient deep sleep, reduced tossing and turning, and then increased satisfaction with their sleep comfort. So I think this was just an exciting example of using a personalized approach, a hyper personalized approach, and a dynamic approach to mattress selection. It, I think, highlights the importance of tailored choices, regardless of the product in achieving better sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a really cool one. I like that.
And we did the same thing for pillow fitting as well. So we looked, instead of just mattresses, we kind of replicated this to pillows. This was in about 20 people, about a 9 week study. And we found that similarly to the first study, if we personalized that pillow fitting process to an individual, we saw about a 16-minute increase in total sleep duration, improved sleep quality scores. They spent about 6 minutes longer in deep sleep, and then they slept more throughout the night. So there was a reduction in wake after sleep onset. And then again, like the mattress study, we saw mirrored results. So similar to the objective findings, we also saw improvements in self-reported findings. So people, indicated that they had greater comfort, fewer awakenings, felt more refreshed in the morning. It just improved sleep quality in general. So
Yeah.
again, between these two studies, it just goes to show that if we can provide recommendations based on a range of factors, the likelihood of return might go down, the
Mhm.
likelihood of satisfaction goes up. So it's an exciting process. And I think, Mattress Firm is building on this by improving their algorithms and providing, the balance between in-person, bespoke recommendations from an actual human and still leveraging technology to better personalize those recommendations.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's another one where, the industry, it's a generally accepted idea in the industry, but to have that hard research is really helpful, very insightful.
And then the last one I wanted to talk about, which was one that I'm actually really interested in because it used, instead of just a validation study with a research team, we actually leveraged data from our existing pool of users from our app and asked them questions about their mattress sizes and actually used that retrospective data to make some correlations with their sleep. So we looked at over 8,000 people with bed partners. We had almost 1 million nights of sleep data collected using our SleepScore technology.
Mhm.
And probably not contrary to popular belief, as expected, sleeping on a larger mattress, so whether that's a king or California king, compared to smaller sizes, whether that be a queen or a full, resulted in significantly, well, not resulted, I should say, was associated with better sleep. So typically, that king or California king, those individuals had about 13 more minutes of total sleep time, about 4.5 more minutes of REM sleep, and about 2 more minutes of deep sleep on average per night. And what was really interesting is that even upgrading from a queen to a king or a California king was also associated with notable improvements in sleep. So an additional 8 minutes of sleep a night, 4 minutes of deep sleep, and about a 1% increase in sleep efficiency just from upgrading to a queen to a king or a California king. So again, it just goes that sometimes bigger is better when it comes to
Yeah.
mattress size, if that's feasible and possible for someone. This again has been anecdotal for a while, like even going into a mattress store, choosing between a queen or a king, I'd always
Mhm.
go with the king. It's worth it. And this study just gave some evidence to that point.
Yeah, that's a really great one. Just thinking of all the possibilities for a retailer to upsell from a queen to a king by really being able to say bigger is better. And here's the proof.
Mhm.
That's a really strong point. So yeah, I think, all of these are really interesting, insightful, and useful, I think, for both retailers and manufacturers. And I appreciate you going through them and sharing them with us. Thank you.
Of course, my pleasure. That was fun. Thanks for
Yeah.
nerding out with me.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I appreciate it again, and we'll talk soon.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Ellie. Have a good one.